So this over $2,000 solar generator was found in the trash, totally unresponsive, not charging, and I got it working. But I think the warning here is you gotta use them or lose them. These cells don't want to be stored for long periods of time. I got it working, but I had 5 cells that just wouldn't accept a charge, wouldn't hold a voltage, and were totally dead. Leaving, I got 3 good ones somewhere in here, but when you're working with this, a 4S setup, you got to have enough cells to fill out all the parallels, right? So all they have functional at this point is a 3P, 3 in parallel, 4 series. So these cells, they're rated at 10 amp hours, but they only use 80% of the power, of the electronics in here. They don't charge it all the way or discharge it all the way. 80% of 30 amp hours is all I have left, and that's not really enough to be useful with an inverter. Like, what are you going to power? Like a phone charger and some stuff, I tried looking these up. I couldn't find anything on these cells. There's one YouTube video of a guy tearing them apart and showing what's inside. They're prismatic, so there's little folds of stuff that he's pulling out and look like quite a mess. You go to the website and you put in these cell numbers. There's nothing. Can't pull them up. Reverse image searching and typing in this. The only other thing I found is some used cells for sale in India. A couple websites hosting big stockpiles of these going somewhere. The way it works is kind of interesting. I don't know if it's interesting, but it's logical. So on the battery itself, you have the terminal ends, but then you also have a BMS, and then in here you have the inverter up top. You have a charge controller, and then you have the thing that accepts all the switches. This has some relays in it, and it turns on and off, and its ground is provided from the BMS. So the switching on and off of all the electronics is done through the BMS, and then all the power being drawn from the battery pack is done through the big terminals. So when the BMS is unhappy, the electronics don't turn on, but the battery is still fully connected to everything. But all these small wires, those are, this is the one that turns the inverter on, and blah blah blah. So it seems like they've made some efforts in safety because they had some fire issues in the past. A week ago, I had the battery fully charged. So when we turn it on, it's more or less holding the charge. All the voltages are 3.3, so the BMS is bringing down, each group of parallels to 3.3 volts. Come in here and see where we're at. We're down to 11.74 volts, and let's see when the low voltage alarm starts going off. So at 45 minutes, I heard a beep, and it just shut off. The BMS said no. So what's 45 minutes? I guess we got 150 watts out of the inverter. That's pretty useless. But I'm sort of thinking I'm not going to put this battery back in here. I'm just going to get the wires off of it and the BMS off of it and just store this in case I want to fix it some later date. So let's just investigate real quick, see what went wrong. This one is still almost fully charged. 3.29, 3.28, 3.25, 2.7. So there's still bad cells over here in this last parallel. So whatever. There's just not enough batteries here to do anything with. So the BMS tripped because I guess this cell just nosedived into oblivion. Alright, so the big conclusion to all this is just that these batteries just aren't good enough to save, right? We knew that from the beginning. They've been through too much. These batteries were never any good. Honestly, I think there's a reason why people make fun of these, why people say the Patriot Power is a scam. I'm just going to salvage these wires, bundle all the battery accessories up inside this unit and shove it in the garage for a minute till I figure out if I want to fix it or not. So I got the BMS and the battery terminals and scrap wire. And then with everything just stowed away, I'll shove this in the garage. And if I get motivated, maybe I'll buy some batteries for it. Because, you know, on battery hookup or Jag 35, you can get a kilowatt of lithium iron phosphate for, you know, between 100 and 200, depending on what you're going for, right? And you know, it's like, it'd be the cheapest way to get into a solar generator. I'm just not a big fan of that name. I mean, it's an all-in-one battery charge controller inverter, right? I think there's less, I don't know, predatory terms that could be used. Solar generator, like, what does that mean? Are you marketing to the lowest common denominator or something? I don't get it. When you consider that these Patriot Powers cost about $2,500 for what's essentially a half a kilowatt hour battery, you know, 512 watt hours, it's way overpriced. It's priced so high it's a scam. Like, hands down, it's a bad investment to make. But not only that, with all that profit margin, they're still using cells that you can learn nothing about, that obviously fail and die. These are all the bad ones that have very high rates of self-discharge and an overall disastrously unreliable battery pack. Like, never buy ever anything branded Patriot Power or Patriot this or that or Patriot Greens. I don't even know what all they're selling, right? Don't do any of that. Here is an equivalent EcoFlow, and so this is a 512 watt hour LiPo battery. It has, you know, it only has a 1,000 watt inverter, but the deal is you can never get 1,500, and the new models, the 1,800, you can never get that out of there because the terrible batteries they use, the voltage drops so low under high demand that it starts shooting a siren out and the BMS shutting off. So, you know, don't think that this is better in any way than anything else you can buy. And look at the price on this, $469. $2,000 less. Granted, you don't get the solar panel in it, but for $2,000 less, you can get the same thing as this $2,500 unit. I mean, that's a scam. These are the most expensive way to buy an unreliable and bad, you know, solar generator. It's insane. And so if you see this, run, but also know that everything else is made in China too. They're all going to be probably not the highest quality, and with so many of these, you know, the marketing on this is crazy. So many of these getting sold that even Harbor Freight stocks Jackery and EcoFlows now, and you can imagine that a lot of people will be buying these. They'll be sitting in the closet for an emergency. The self-discharge rates of their questionable batteries are going to kill the units, and you'll be able to find solar generators in a few years in the trash all the time, I bet. You know, it just so happens that the Patriot Power was so low quality that I got to find one in the trash way sooner than any of these other brands. So, you know, I don't know. Be careful buying this stuff, because all it is, it's a battery, it's an inverter, it's a charge controller, and then it gives you some reference on state of charge, you know, some USB ports. I mean, $2,500. Come on. I really think if you really want battery backup, go the DIY route. Buy some good top quality batteries from one of these used battery places. Use whatever Chinese crappy inverter you want, and have a better outcome for a fraction of the price. So, yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say about this. I am going to keep it, and I'm going to put some new batteries in it at some point, but only because it was free. Because it was free to me. I would never spend money on this unit, ever. Y'all be good. Peace.